The youth of the Empire, void of all responsibility and commitment compared to the grown-up dragons, yet they too have certain rules they must follow, and certain expectations to uphold, even from just a young age. Hi, I'm your host Heatwave, and today's lore episode, I'll be exploring what's it like to be a dragonet in the Empire of Pareena. Hi, I'm Muzzy. Hi, Muzzy. I'm Copper. Do you want this flower, Copper? It's orange like you, and you're pretty like this flower. You're a very pretty dragon, Copper. A pretty orange skywing. Welcome back to the Wings of Fire spin-off series, Empire of Pareena. If you haven't done so already, please leave a like. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe so you don't miss any episodes that I publish. So, let's talk about dragonets. They are, of course, very important as they are the next generation of dragons to serve the Empire. This means an emphasis needs to be placed on indoctrination, education, and manners, while still leaving room for dragonets to play and have a social life, especially as they get older and closer to becoming adults. For clarity, as I've stated in my episode on dragon biology, and as stated by Imperial Command 8, a dragonet is classed as any dragon from the day they hatched to 9 years of age, with a hatchling being from hatching to the first year of age. Let's start there naturally at hatchlings. Now, I'll cover motherhood in another episode, but a dragon's egg will typically hatch around spring, the warm, welcoming sun bringing new dragon life to the landscape. Of course, when the hatchling is ready, it will break free of its shell. The hatchling will gain consciousness and push its way out of the shell, splitting the membrane lining and breaking out. The mother or father will assist their dragonet in removing the egg shell, as the egg shards are a new hazard to the dragon. Just to note, naturally, a dragon's egg will take on some sort of camouflage, a leftover defensive mechanism from before the Empire. This camouflage will match the natural environment a dragon winglet could find themselves in. White, for example, is the colour of icewing eggs, or brown for mudwings. Funny enough, skywing eggs are actually coloured a rocky grey to match the low peaks of Claw Mountain. The average size of a hatchling can be between 50 to 70 centimetres in height. Of course, the larger winglets like mudwings have bigger hatchlings. But it's not as simple as that. The hatchling will be washed in a bath basin, if one is available, to wash off all the membrane proteins and fluids left over from them breaking out of the shell. The mother or father may seek out an apothecary to look over their hatchling, but this is only done by the most worrisome of parents. Unfortunately, not many apothecaries study pediatric medicine because not many dragonets get sick, thanks to the dragon's amazing biology. They are particularly immune to most minor illnesses. Finally, a hatchling's parents will need to acquire a new hatching documentation declaration. This scroll can be acquired by contacting the local Department of Records public liaison, where the document will be delivered to the new parents. They are required to document the new hatchling's name and the date of their hatching. They are also required to record their names. This document will be mailed back to the Imperial Palace, where it will be archived. The Empire holds a detailed record of all dragons, and any government department can request the records of a dragon. Failure to fill out the document is a violation of Command 1, Command 6, Command 13, and Command 14, with the punishment of death if not complied to. The deadline is about 5 days from hatching. Of course, a hatchling will need a name befitting them, of course. So what is life like for the smallest of dragons? Well, hatchlings don't really do much of anything. They can't really walk, talk, or fly very well. They don't know how much to eat, so they throw up a lot. They can't breathe fire very well and may burn things down. They are very messy, having limited control over their own bodily functions. They mostly spend their time rolling around on the floor. During the first year of life, the parent responsible for the new dragonet will spend every waking moment with them, teaching them everything they can, how to talk, walk, and most importantly, fly. Of course, depending on where the hatchling is born and what winglet it is depends on what they will learn faster. For example, a skywing hatchling will learn to fly faster than a sandwing, for example, or how a sea-wing born underwater will be a little slower in learning how to fly and maybe to talk, or how a dragon born in the major cities may not be taught how to hunt right away. Funny enough, sandwing hatchlings have to wear a barb sock because, well, they haven't learned to control their deadly tail yet. It is, of course, better if the hatchling is close to the mother, as one essential part of a hatchling's diet is the milk offered by the female dragon. Remember, the dragons of Pareena are not full reptiles, but rather are monotermous. The milk provided contains vital fats and proteins, not only to incite growth in the hatchling, but also helps their body adapt to the environment. A female can potentially nurse their dragonets all the way up to the age of 4. This feature would be removed from Pariah's dragons, choosing to artificially induce growth, meaning that Pariah-born dragons actually grow a lot faster than those of Pareena. And it also means that Pariah's dragons are considered close cousins to the dragons of Pareena. Those hatchlings who live in the major cities can attend playgroups. While this isn't exclusive to just the major cities, in many small settlements dragonets will play together, but this is done by older dragonets, not necessarily hatchlings. These playgroups are held for hatchlings, allowing the very young to play together and socialize. They play with lots of soft toys, balls, or rough play with each other. The parents of these hatchlings can spend time interacting with other parents, a way for them to socialize as well. Having a dragonet can be a lot of work for some parents. These playgroups are held in whatever community spaces are available in the city they're founded in. Hatchlings, or eggs, are sometimes carried in a kangaroo pouch. This long, loose scarf is wrapped around the neck to hold the young dragon, or an egg. The term kangaroo pouch is of course referring to how a kangaroo will carry its joey in a forward pouch on its body. So welcome to Growing Up Fast. Once a hatchling has reached 2 years of age, it officially becomes a dragonet. At this age, they can do a lot. They have better vocabulary skills, they can walk and run with ease, having further developed their gross motor skills. At this age, most dragonets can fly for short distances. At 2 years of age, they are still developing their fine motor skills, but are old enough to start school. School is, of course, a very important part of a dragonet's life. It not only teaches them the life skills they need, but it also introduces to them how great the Empire is, and how they should do everything they can to uphold the principles and laws. A dragonet who is between 2 to 6 years of age is in the prime of their youth. They've developed greater skills in fine motor and gross motor, and fall into their close social circles with other dragonets. They, of course, start to increase in height and size, naturally, as they grow older. Dragonets, when not studying, will enjoy a wide range of activities, while anything can be made a game, and some dragonets have fashioned toys out of simple sticks and rocks. Well, it's not hard to make your own fun, after all. Dragonets in the major cities, though, and in some of the bigger settlements, will have an allocated play space just for them, to keep them out of the way and safe from many of the going-ons of the major cities. This typically includes small raised platforms and bars for dragonets to swing and hang from. This is supplemented by nets mounted vertically to allow dragonets to scurry up to the platforms. Many of these play spaces are located next to schools, which means a teacher will be supervising the dragonets' play. If not, a member of the local law enforcement detachment may also supervise the dragonets to make sure they're not getting into too much mischief. Dragonets engage in a number of ways of play, many involving the vast amounts of toys that can be bought for them, which I hope to cover in their own episode. But dragonets will play games such as rock hop, or they may roleplay from what they see other grown-up dragons doing, like playing soldier. For those dragonets more into quiet activities, there is a very wide range of literature and storybooks. While it takes a grown-up or skilled reader to read said books, books like Sting of the Sandwing are still very popular among dragonets. And there is, of course, my personal favourite, wheelboarding. But not everything is just playtime and mucking around for dragonets, no. There are expectations of how to behave in a social setting. It's an expectation that dragonets will still bow before a very important dragon, like the Imperator, for example. Another expectation of the dragonet is to properly address adult dragons. If they are able to talk, a dragonet must address a male dragon as Sir, or a female dragon as Miss. So, for example, if a dragonet is walking past an adult dragon, he must say, "Excuse me, sir." While dragonets are protected by Imperial Command 8, a dragonet will still be disciplined when needed. Usually a parent or a teacher will flog the dragonet by taking a wooden stick and hitting the dragonet's talons. This is the only punishment a dragonet can receive that is not issued by a law enforcer. When a dragonet reaches 7 years of age, they are on their way to being an adult. Their brain will begin to develop the natural chemicals and hormones that lead a dragon into adulthood, activating their reproductive organs, along with growing the dragonet to the full size of their winglet. These older dragonets are referred to as squires, as they tend to follow around adults and assist them. These dragonets are far better at doing all those great dragon things as to be expected from their older age. Squires have a far greater deal of freedom. They are treated with a great deal of respect for their age and may be given opportunities to learn skills as an apprentice, like trades by a local smith or baking by a local baker. Around 8 years of age, a dragon will finish their basic education. From there, they will seek out their next life goal, apply for higher education, or take a moment to enjoy the last year they have as being a dragonet before they become adults. Now, obviously, there is differences between those dragonets who live in the most remote parts of Pareena and those who live in the built-up areas. Yet, they may spend more time learning on farmland or how to hunt for themselves rather than playing with other dragonets. The same can go for dragons who come from very wealthy socialite families. They spend more time in the Imperial Palace or learning business-savvy techniques from their parents. These dragonets, along with the dragonets of palace serfs, will attend the illustrious school inside the Imperial Palace, just as I was. As I've stated before, a dragonet descended from the Imperator will spend the time as a dragonet learning everything they need to know to become the next Imperator. They won't have a social life and will spend their day interacting with members of government. They rarely have any friends their own age. An unfortunate reality for the future ruler of Pareena. Those dragonets who are born under the custodii also don't really get a childhood. From the moment they hatch, these dragonets are drilled into becoming the perfect warrior. They too have no time for being social or making friends, because they put all their efforts towards being ready to defend the throne. It's expected that at the age of 3, a custodii dragonet would have perfected at least one combat style. It's one unfortunate fact that not every parent can look after a dragonet. They may be too old or too sick. In that case, an orphanage is set up in the first city, a place where dragonets can still have a full life and education under the loving care of a foster family, allowing these lost little dragons to live and thrive under their roofs. Orphan dragonets are not very common, but there is still services there to support them. Dragonets born into Pacific winglets may be subjected to that winglet's culture surrounding dragonets. A parent can only teach their dragonet so much. That's why they have schools. But it is an unannounced duty of a dragonet's parents to introduce them to what makes their winglet so great, and how this can be used alongside other winglets for the good of the entire empire. But still, each winglet has its own way of raising dragonets. Of course, they can be simple things. A skywing mother may prioritize her dragonet being able to fly over anything else. Sea wings are rather interesting. Those who are born above the waves embrace more of the wider culture of the empire. But no matter what, all sea wings will go to school on the surface. That's not a choice. After that, some do choose to return to the water, living down under the waves their whole life in the Coral City. Mudwings allow their dragonets to participate in their traditional dancing, and due to their overall culture of community, Mudwing dragonets have the most social lives. Rainwing dragonets are lucky enough to be gifted with their very first plant. It is a coming of age for these dragons to successfully grow and develop their own plant, even more if this plant bears fruit. Sandwings value the safety of their dragonets by making sure their dragonets know not to stab everything with their tail barb. They also teach the female dragonets at a young age to braid their manes and to keep it clean and pristine. Now ice wings, but only the ice wings born on Claw Mountain make their dragonets have a far more bleak life. They don't really get toys or playtime. Rather, from a young age, these dragonets are taught practical skills. Many ice wings on Claw Mountain don't believe in toys, seeing them as something the other dragons of Pareena care too much about. Dragonets need to be sharp and molded into great dragons of the future, willing to serve their empire. Arctic sea wings are something I hope to cover in their own dedicated lore episode, but when it comes to dragonets, they prefer to teach them how to be safe and how to be cautious, but they also teach them how to harvest bones from prey and carve it into trinkets. So that leaves hybrids. This one's pretty simple. It depends on the environment they find themselves in. While both parents will try to educate the hybrid dragonet on each winglet's culture, it comes down to the outside influences. For example, a sandwing-rainwing hybrid that is living in the rainforest may pick up on more rainwing and mudwing culture, especially as their parents would find it relevant to teach this to their dragonet and improve their development in this particular social setting. Because, well, when you're living with lots of rainwings, it helps to understand their particular culture than that of sandwings. And that concludes another lore episode of the Wings of Fire spin-off series, Empire of Pareena. Thank you very much for listening. I've been your host, Heatwave, signing off.